My name is Mike Hert.
And I'm Adam Alexander.
And welcome to another edition of
The
Outpost. And we are with DAV Chapter 17, the Disabled American Veterans. DAV has been around well over 100 years, and we assist veterans throughout the nation. DAV Chapter 17, we are located in Winnebago County. We meet the fourth Tuesday of the month, 6:30 at the Marine Corps League building, which is it's 4715 Sherman Road. It's basically along Highway County A between Oshkosh and Neenah. The focus of the program is we like to be able to share with the community, and especially with veterans, how DAV can be of service. But we also like to take the opportunity to showcase our members, our veterans, because as I like to say, each has played a part in American history, and to be able to hear their story it's a pretty incredible experience. So Adam and I are blessed today that we have with us Chuck DeMunck. And Chuck is a Vietnam veteran. He served in the United States Army, and from 1969 to 1971, and Chuck also served with the Special Forces. And Chuck and Adam are neighbors.
Yeah.
And have known each other quite well. So Chuck, welcome to the Outpost.
Thank you.
So this is an exciting time for us to be able to have you here. First off, I got to ask you, can you tell us a little bit about the Special Forces, about the Green Berets?
Well,
And I see you brought your hat as well. So,
I graduated from class 101 May of 68 from Fort Bragg, and from there, after I got my tab, I was sent to Vietnam, which was not one of my choices. I wanted Hawaii or Japan, but you know that.
well, can I ask you something? Because I always think of the Ballad of the Green Berets, and you hear about 100 tried out, one made it today, that type of thing. What was that like? How many did start? How many did make it through?
I don't know, but it's supposedly only 3 out of 100 make it through what's called Q course, and that's where you try out. And part of that is 4 days, 4 hours sleep, and they just run you till they try and break you. And then you have to go through the pipeline, which means you go through Robin Sage and jump school and all that stuff.
Did you do SEER?
I did SEER, which is
And for people watching, SEER, survival,
Evasion.
Fearless men
Okay.
who
And
jump
then if you
and
could show your
die.
hat.
huh?
Men who mean
Oh,
just what they say.
now
The
that
brave men
there's
I worked with Scott. We couldn't resist the moment.
there's a lead-in. John Wayne,
their chest.
when he made the movie, had Montagnards there that were acting as extras in the movie. They made him part of their tribe, which was the Riad
Really?
tribe, and he always wore his bracelet that was awarded to him by the Montagnards. And if you look at movies after the Green Beret movie, he still wore it. He wore it when he died. It got buried with him.
Really?
So he thought that was quite the honor.
And you were awarded one as well?
Yep. Should I get into it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We want to learn.
When I got done and I got my orders to Vietnam, I ended up getting assigned to the 1st and of the 9th Marine Brigade. And I didn't understand that, and I still don't, but it is what it is. First year was combat, and we were in a place called I Corps, which is the northernmost area of operation. It was probably the hottest during the Vietnam War. There was 26,000 people killed just in our I Corps. Marines were there, we were there. And of that I Corps, right up by the DMZ,
Oh, okay. We have it up there on the
Yeah.
screen.
the DMZ is there in light red. I spent time at the farthest most post called Cantien. I also spent time at Khe Sanh during their 78-day siege.
You were at Khe Sanh?
Yeah.
Wow.
And if you look on the map here, these are the North Vietnamese regulars in our area. There was a lot. When Tet Offensive started, they hit our outpost first because they were going to sweep down from the north. They hit Khe Sanh, that wasn't successful. They hit Con Thien. Between Khe Sanh and Con Thien is where myself and our reconnaissance were operating. Next slide. Way to the left is a Special Forces camp. The commander of that was out on patrol and noticed track vehicle marks in the river, and he called it in and nobody believed him that there was tanks in the operating area. As it later came, I'll go through it. The Montagnards I was stationed with, they're interrogating a woman prisoner. We did not interrogate prisoners. We had the Montagnards do it because Montagnards and Vietnamese did not get along. The Vietnamese word for Montagnards was Moi, M-O-I, and it meant savages. They thought that the Montagnards that lived up in the mountains had tails.
Wow.
So, and their own name for themselves are Daga, which means the people. Long time ago, I think what happened is after the French left, the CIA made first contact with the Montagnards, followed by Special Forces. This was in the late 50s. And people don't know that the Vietnam War started way before everybody thinks it did. Then, when we got over there after the first year of combat, then I got assigned to a Montagnard village. And we were supposed to be advisors. And Montagnards, in this picture, wore their regular costumes, but actually we supplied them with uniforms and guns and had to teach them from bow and arrow and blowguns to M16s, M50s, or 50 calibers and stuff like that. How to patrol. That was kind of mutual because they knew the land. And they knew they didn't like Vietnamese because they are the minority of Vietnam. They can't own land, they can't vote. Of the roughly 16,000 Montagnards, about 8,000 of those we trained as our reactionary force. If somebody had to be someplace, a plane down or something like that, the Montagnards and the Special Force advisor would go to that area. The other part of them, that's Khe Sanh. That was trench warfare because every bunker was connected by trenches because of the amount of income that Khe Sanh received for 88 days.
I know we're on the Khe Sanh picture. Just a question. I mean, when you look at major battles of Vietnam, and I'm an Iraq Afghanistan guy, so it's before me, but from what I've watched, is Khe Sanh, it was considered one of the larger hallmark battles of Vietnam. I got to tell you something, Chuck. You're the first person I've met from Khe Sanh. I mean, I guess what was that experience? Because when I think of Khe Sanh, I think of the Marines.
Yeah.
And I was not aware the Army was in there. If you could.
Some of the Army was. I was, and my team was. At the end of the siege, at the end of Tet, when they were supposed to have taken over the country, they abandoned Khe Sanh because it just wasn't worth more bodies, more Americans killed. So they abandoned it, and they abandoned Con Thien, and they pulled back because there wasn't the enemy action that there was during Tet. One of the major things is they blew up our ammo dump, and that was a fireworks in itself. And they downed a C-47, and I think it was 70 some days, but I call it 88, before the Marines and the Army came and rescued us. During the time they were getting shelled, our team was out patrolling. When the Special Forces camp to the east got hit, we were called in, but then we were stood down, and then we went back to Camp Carroll, a Marine base, and they wouldn't let us in because we had Vietnamese with us, and they wouldn't let the Vietnamese in. And I tried to explain to the camp commander, these are Montagnards, they're loyal to us. Didn't make any difference, so we had to walk through the night to another post.
Well, what was it? What was? Okay, now I'm gonna go brain dead. But what was the battle with France, where they got surrounded? I want to say Fubin.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I remember, and then there were a lot of people that were going, "Oh, Khe Sanh's going to be that," and it wasn't. But how did you get supplies in? Because you were basically encircled, weren't you?
Flew them in by airplane, and then one of the airplanes, one of the classic pictures is on the runway. This gigantic plane with supplies got hit by probably an RPG, a rocket-propelled grenade. That's what was part of ours. And then they airdropped them. I can remember airdropping fuel cells were about as big as this room, made out of rubber, and they'd drop them, and they'd bounce, and they'd mow down trees and everything. Then you had to go bring this thing back up, with whatever means you could to get it back into camp. Now later on, when I was working with the Montagnards, a couple of things happened. We were out patrolling. I got my first Purple Heart, which was shrapnel to the leg. Wasn't serious enough to take me back. They stitched me up and they said, nope. Second one was a gunshot to my side because I was teaching sniper training and got shot, which it was supposed to be a safe area. Got shot by a sniper, and that was embarrassing. God. And the third one I got on my second tour, and I got a piece of shrapnel that went through my cheek and out the back of my head. So they took a piece of bone off my hip to rebuild my cheekbone, and then they took a piece of skin off my butt to rebuild my, because that
a skin graft?
Your skin graft was pretty compatible from that area.
Wow.
So I always say, if I'm mad at somebody, kiss my ass.
Well, I've got to toss this out because because of DAV, we kind of get to know each other a little bit, and Adam and I go back to our Afghanistan days, and for me, it's pretty intimidating sitting with the both of you because you guys are like American heroes. Adam, you received a Purple Heart over in Afghanistan. As you shared, Chuck, you've gotten 3, and I think there's a real unique bond that has happened for the both of you. You guys are neighbors, and what has that relationship been like for the both of you? I mean, you see one, you see the other. I mean, it's like peanut butter and jelly, Laurel and Hardy.
We both sustained head injuries, which was what a coincidence. But I'm still a better looking one. All right, let me get back to the Montagnards. We operated in small groups. Where we were told to go, we went. And most of the time, we just laid low along a pathway called the Ho Chi Minh Trail. We laid low. Here's a picture of the Montagnards. When they came to our compound, the whole family came with them.
Now, did you, when you were with Montagnards, did you have your own area? Did you sleep together? How did you?
They slept in longhouses, and I don't know if I had a picture of that, but we all slept together. We all ate together.
Wow.
There's a longhouse. And when we brought them out of the mountains into a protective area, we all ate together, slept together, patrolled together. The family stayed there as a unit. And the thing that was unusual about Montagnards that most people don't know is that they had to have a source of protein every day. That's part of their their culture. So it wasn't unusual to be in a firefight and all of a sudden you look over, and one of the Montagnards is shooting way up. The action's here because he spotted a monkey. A monkey, and that was their protein. So he'd shoot it after the firefighter's over. They'd scurry down and get the monkey, or a sloth one time. Anything they could find. When they walked around, they'd pick up snakes and snap the head and stick them in their shirt because that was protein for that day. And we got back to camp, then they shared it with their whole clan, their whole tribe, and that was their protein for the day. But, nuts.
So I got to ask you then. So did you end up eating off the land a lot then, as being a Green Beret?
One of our meals was a table kind of like this with a hole in the middle, and there was a skull there, and it was cooked, and then everybody was dipping in with their chopsticks, and there was a monkey's head that they'd crack the top open.
Just like Raiders of the Last Ark.
Yeah, and you just scoop out of it and you eat, and it wasn't unusual for Montagnards to give dogs to American GIs, knowing that we'd fatten them up. And there was one meal that I couldn't figure out what we were eating, and I pointed at different animals, and they said, no. And then I pointed at a dog, yeah. So we ended up eating our own pet dog. But that was their protein. It didn't matter where the protein came from. It could
meat is meat, right?
From snake to sloth to monkeys to whatever. And then they were also with us when twice our compound was overrun. Here's another picture of Montagnards with their advisor. Same weapons we had, they had.
Wow.
And that's a long way from crossbows.
Yeah.
Then if you endeavored yourself to them either by saving a life or whatever the reason, there's a ceremony that you go through where you wear their costumes, and they award you a bracelet.
Wow.
And on the bracelet there's symbols for crossbow, for bamboo, for friendship. And
you had to feel real honored when you got that.
Did. No, it's never come off. I've gone in for a couple of surgeries, and they said, got to take it off, and I said, I can't. The myth is that if you lose it, you want it back. You want another one, it costs you your little finger. And I said, I don't want to do that. But
Wow.
every surgery I've had since then, or every CAT scan or MRI, there's no problem because it's brass. They have my hands up here, so it's not in the way. It's not magnetic, so it doesn't get picked up. TSA, I tell them what it's from. They don't have a problem with it. They have me hold my hands up like that, and they X-ray from. So, and it'll be with me till I die, I guess. What else about the Montagnards?
Well, you said you
Got
had been
overrun a couple times.
You had been overrun twice.
I think he's got one of the pictures. One of the times we met up with a Marine company on a hilltop, which is bad news anyhow. They didn't get off the silhouette of the mountain. And we got hit with incoming, and all of a sudden our tripwires and flares around started popping off, and by that time they'd crawled underneath the barbed wire, underneath the tripwire. They were inside the compound. And by the time it was over, then we had to, the next morning, we had to go back in and retrieve all the bodies. So that meant lining them all up and matching a leg. Yeah, that might go to that body. Maybe that arm goes there, and putting as much whole bodies together as we could. Then we had to search all their pockets for documents and anything else that intelligence could use. And then they flew in a bulldozer. If that picture comes up in the background, you can see the bulldozer in the background. They just dug a big pit. We drug them all in, laid them out as respectful as we could. That was the first time when I was going through a wallet, I saw this guy had a picture of his family. And I thought, they're just like us. They have family. You know. That was a pretty traumatic time. And then the second time was about as good. they probed our perimeter with rocket barrel grenades, trying to get us to fire all our weapons all the way around so they knew where they were, but we knew better than that. Second time wasn't bad. There was probably 70 bodies we had to arrange, but that means going into the jungle and pulling them out. By that time, they started turning putrid, and we took methylatum and put it under our nose to keep the stink down. And then you pull them out, you lay them down.
War is hell.
Yes, yeah. In the one picture I have, there's one of my team members is standing there very poetically looking at this, like saying, "What is this?"
Yeah.
That was Q course. God, I was good looking.
What happened?
What happened?
Long time ago. God, 50
I just out of curiosity, with the Special Forces community, I mean, it's got to be a unique alumni. Do you connect, get together?
It's always been my philosophy. When I leave an experience, I don't go back. I don't keep track of any of my high school friends. I don't go to class reunions. I don't keep track of college friends. That was over. I just don't do that. I don't go back there because I've been approached to join the Special Forces Association. I don't do that. I don't go back. That's why I'm surprised I'm in Purple Heart and DAV, because I just don't do that. This is a picture of a wounded in the jungle getting patched up. And the guy that's doing the patching is a Special Forces medic. And I just got a letter from him the other day I should have brought. But he wrote me a letter saying it was a pleasure serving with you. And I think the reason he wrote that is because I tried to contact him, phone call him. I think this was the end of his life, and he just wanted to say that before he died. I don't know.
One of the things, just kind of a flip on things, but there can be real horrific things that can occur in wartime, but there can be some things you look back on and were really humorous. To this day, I'll never forget, I was in Afghanistan. I think it was the KG Pass, very nasty place. We're waiting for the big ambush, and we're all connected with the, headphones or whatever, and all of a sudden, the NCO in the truck had, or in the vehicle, started playing the Ramones' "I Want to Be Sedated." And everybody started singing and laughing, because it was the perfect thing at the perfect moment. Did you ever have any of those moments, Chuck?
I had a captain that was assigned to our team trying to punch his tickets. And he was a West Point graduate, of all things. And they always tried to do that because they wanted to punch their ticket with us so that more advancement. And I was the nicest NCO he'd ever met. Every morning I'd shine his shoes, I'd polish his bars on his helmet. He just thought I was great. I even ironed his shirts almost every night before we went on patrol. And he must have been in a rear area sometime, and one of his fellow officers clued him in that he's trying to get you killed. Then he never came back. But I thought,
Rule number one, you always try to look unimportant in case they're low on ammo.
that's right. And he loved to talk on the Prick 25, the radio of our times. And I said, hey, have at it. Call in airstrikes, whatever you want to do, talk as long as you want. Because the enemy also knows that antenna is like a flag. Just follow that antenna, follow the mic cord, and shoot whoever's talking on it. But they must have squared him away on that too. So all of a sudden I wasn't his favorite NCO anymore. Oh yes, there were some humorous times.
What about, just to kind of jump back, and this is something I want to share with you as an Iraq Afghan guy that's important, is I got phenomenal homecomings. And the thing I always like to share is 2008. We flew into Green Bay. We stepped off the plane. I kid you not, from the airplane to the hangar was the Patriot Guard. We walked in there. I mean, there was a band, there was food, there was their family. We got greeted by the mayor of Oshkosh. We were surrounded by the media. And the thing that happened is it was the Vietnam veterans that had our back. It was the Vietnam veterans that said nobody will ever get a homecoming like we got. And they made sure that the warriors were always welcome back. And every Vietnam veteran I talk with, I share that with, because you touched our hearts, and you just made sure that, because my understanding with a lot of Vietnam veterans, you fought with great valor, came back home, and the reception was not always easy.
It took me a year sleeping in my parents' basement. And after the year, because that was like a bunker to me, you know, it was quiet, it was dark, and my dad was a World War II and a Korean vet. And he was the one that told me when I got home, we were talking about World War II, and he was an engineer officer. He said, well, at least we won our war. And he was kidding, but I thought, oh, Dad, ouch, ouch.
Did you get another Purple Heart for that stab in the back?
But after a year, I finally said, come on, DeMunck, you know, a year in my basement. I'd go to class, come home, into the basement to study. And then I'd go to class, back, and it was underneath the staircase. I had my blankets on the floor. And I finally got to the point where I said, you know, it's time I grow up. This is time to end. So I did, and I started dating, which was a good thing back then. Just humorous side note. The Army draft, or the military draft, was still going on, and kids were pulling out of class and getting inducted into the military. And here I am with my military experience behind me, and I'm all of a sudden eligible because they don't have to worry about their boyfriend getting shipped out. It was a good time for being single.
So what you know, when you look back though, what was it like on the college campuses?
It was nirvana. They were all laying out in the sun and sunning themselves, and I was expecting for the protesters to block me from going into class, and I was armed, and I went home and I told my dad, I said, it was nirvana. What was I worried about? Because I'd read all of the articles from the Stars and Stripes about all the unrest on campuses throughout the United States, and, you know, get out of Vietnam and all this stuff.
Now we're starting to wrap into that final portion of the show. For the disabled American veterans, you indicated that you never thought you'd be part of an organization, and you are. What about it appealed to you?
People of like circumstances, and I like the community involvement. You know, not from the Broadfies, but invited to this program. I'm all for doing for others. You introduced me to somebody the other night that was from the same area, but you can't have the same experiences that you had, you know, like we talked about before the show.
Yeah.
Because you weren't in my shoes at that time, at that place, and that wouldn't have made any difference either, because it was inside me that it happened to, not inside my teammate or whatever.
Okay.
But I find a lot of people that, well, now I ask them how their war went, the Afghan veterans. How did your war end up? Because
well, I think at this point in time that is it. Perfect. That's all the time we have. So that'll wrap up this edition of the Outpost. My name is Mike Hert.
I'm Adam Alexander, and thank you to our guest, Chuck DeMunck.
thank you very much.
Yeah.